Hello and welcome, it's Dr. Drredfrizzlevideos today, and I want to talk to you about cells and tissues. Okay, so what is a cell first of all? A cell is a building block that makes up humans, animals and plants. There are two different types of cell called a plant cell and an animal cell, and a group of cells known as a tissue. Particular tissues can be specialised or adapted for a specific function, which means they can carry out a certain process within our bodies or within a plant or what have you. A group of tissues, so we said a group of cell is called a tissue, a group of tissues is called an organ, and an organ's a group of tissues which are also adapted for a specific function, and the tissues within it can obviously carry out individual roles, because all the tissues within it are different, but they make up the organ that carries out an overall more major function. Your organs together, they collectively work together to form the organ system. There's a number of different organ systems. One of them is called the circulatory system, one's called the nervous system, one's called the respiratory system, and one's called the digestive system. So the nervous system consists of these nerve cells called neurons. You don't need to know about different types too much for key stage 3, but you do need to know that there are neurons which spread nerve impulses. Now, a nerve impulse is basically a response that the body, how the body responds to a particular stimulus, which is a particular thing that stimulates a response. So, for example, that could be heat. So, if you put your finger on an oven, for example, you'll automatically pull your finger away. This is because a nerve impulse is sent down your neurons, and that's how it works, basically. Respiratory system consists of your nose, lungs and mouth, and is basically involved in ventilation, which is the process of breathing. So respiratory system is a little bit misleading, because it doesn't mean carrying out respiration. So respiration, as we discussed before, is the conversion using glucose and oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, but this is just to do with ventilation. Okay. Digestive system is the system used with digesting things, as you'd expect. In a lot of these systems use specialised cells in particular places. So an example of a specialised tissue, is the small intestine wall. So I'll write down small intestine wall for you. Basically, on the small intestine wall, it looks like this. It's got a squiggly membrane, this is called. The wall can be called a membrane. Squiggly membrane, and these squiggly structures are known as villi, or the plural is villus. Now the individual is villus, and the plural is villi. So if you have more than one, you call them villi. If you have one, you call it a villus. Okay? Which is spelled like that. Yeah, and the reason why they have this is because it provides a large surface area for exchanging nutrients across the small intestine wall. So that's the small intestine wall. There's also your lungs, as I discussed before in my last video with you. I didn't actually discuss this. I've added on an annotation to the previous to my previous video, which shows you the adaptations of capillary walls and alveoli. So basically, the alveoli are the air sacs in the lungs, as I said before. But what I didn't say before is that they have thin membranes. They're moist. They're close to the capillaries, and the capillaries, which is this bit here, I'll lay that capillary. Your capillary, which is here, provides a good blood supply from the heart, and is only one cell thick. Now you're probably thinking, well, why does this matter? Well, the good blood supply means that there's a lot of oxygen and stuff, which means efficient gas exchange, so your oxygen is going into the lungs via this air sac called alveoli. So this is O2, because that's the chemical formula for oxygen. You'll learn more about chemical formulas later on in your education, so don't worry too much at key stage 3 level. And actually into here, this will be CO2, which is carbon dioxide. Out of here will be oxygen, because oxygen's breathed into our lungs via our mouth. So basically what we do is we inhale, which means breathe in or suck in air, and this air contains oxygen which goes into our lungs and is then passed through our blood supply to cells so that they can respire. CO2 is passed back after respiration, because CO2 is a product of respiration, as I discussed in my last video. It's then moved back to the lungs where it's exhaled or breathed out, so that CO2 doesn't build up. CO2 can be toxic. You don't need to know too much about that either at this stage. So yeah, I've discussed circulatory system, basically just how circulation works. So your heart, blood system is involved with that. Your nervous system, neurons, I've discussed with you. Respiratory system, yeah, so that's breathing again. And your digestive system, small intestinal wall, is one of the specialised tissues. So now I want to discuss with you in a little bit more detail, come over here and discuss with you in a bit more detail plant cells and animal cell structure. So an animal cell, you need to know about three main parts. So one of these is the nucleus, which is this bit in the middle. Now you're probably thinking this looks a bit like a fried egg and it's completely pointless me drawing this. Well, it's not, because you need to know about it, because these are what makes up everything. Can't stress this enough, these are the building blocks of life. So this is nucleus, and what this does is it controls activities of cell, which means that it controls everything that the cell does, basically. Maybe cell membrane, which controls what goes in and out of the cell. You have the cytoplasm here, and what this does, excuse the noise in the background, that should be gone soon. The cytoplasm, what this does is it's where the chemical reactions take place. Within the cell. So these are the three parts you need to know about the animal cell. There's also a plant cell, which is more square shaped, and this is because it has something which provides the structure, known as the cell wall, which is the outside bit. So the outside membrane is called the cell wall. It still has a cell membrane, which is this inner membrane, which is basically the same as the animal cell, apart from the animal cell doesn't have the cell wall, so it is a bit more free, essentially, so it's not held in this square-like structure. Inside, you've got a really big structure in the middle, which isn't the nucleus, it's called the vacuole, and what this does is it contains the cell sap, which is basically just liquid. So write liquid for you in brackets. And the other thing you need to know, inside plant cells, there's these things called chloroplasts. Now, you haven't come across chloroplasts before, but don't worry, because all chloroplasts are is the site of photosynthesis. Now, you've probably heard that before, but you're probably still wondering, what is this? Photosynthesis, all it is it's where plants convert the products of respiration. So if I write you out respiration quickly, which is using glucose and oxygen to make water and carbon dioxide. Now I'll put in brackets the chemical names because I've been using these some of the time, so that it doesn't confuse you. Carbon dioxide is the same as CO2, oxygen is the same as O2, water is the same as H2O, and glucose is the same as C6H12O6, but you don't need to remember this one, don't worry about that. So basically these are the reactants, because they react together, and these are the products of respiration. These products of respiration, water and carbon dioxide, basically in photosynthesis is just a respiration backwards, so it's just this process but the other way around. So water and carbon dioxide changes into glucose and oxygen. That's what you need to know. So basically plants make the oxygen and then animals use the oxygen. Okay, so basically the site of this reaction, which is known as photosynthesis, is in the chloroplast. So I'll draw you an arrow to the chloroplast, okay, this little bit here. Yeah, so it has a thin layer of cytoplasm again, which is where the chemical reactions take place. It's got your vacuole, it's got your cell wall. So these are the main structures you need to know. The animal cell and the plant cell all have the cell membrane, nucleus and cytoplasm, but the plant cell has 3 extra structures: your vacuole, your cell wall and your chloroplast. Okay, so that's what all you need to know about cells at this moment in time, apart from that there are 5 specialised cells. So I'll just list these for you. One is called your sperm cell, which is a male sex cell. You've got your egg cell, which is a female sex cell. So these combine. These combine in order for a child to be created. You'll learn about reproduction and stuff in a later video. You've also got your root hair cell in plants, and you've got your leaf cell. Now your root hair cell takes up nutrients, water and nutrients, and your leaf cell absorbs sunlight. Now in my Key Stage 1 video I mentioned that sunlight is used in the process of photosynthesis. I probably didn't tell you actually what it was used for, but now you know that it's used for photosynthesis. Sunlight is required, so photosynthesis only takes place if sunlight is present. These are basically the 5 specialised types of cells. You've also got a couple of plant tissues, like phloem tissue. Please ignore the background noise. It's very disturbing, I know. So you've got your phloem tissue. And the other thing you need to know is that, hold on a minute, you also need to know about that plants can have organs as well. So basically your plant can have a leaf is an organ and a root is an organ. Okay, so you also got the animal organs as well. So I've mentioned some of these before in previous videos, like brain, liver. You have your kidney. You can have your bladder. You don't need to know what that is, but I'll just list a few organs. Your lungs. So this just gives you a general idea of the organs. We mentioned tissues and the specialised types of cells. Mentioned all the different systems and what they're used for. Hope you found this video helpful, and hope this answers all your questions. Many thanks for watching. Goodbye.